time no see, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, man.
Been a while.
Yep.
I'd like to introduce Mychael Waller, good friend of mine. I think the first time we met was a year ago, almost. Was it this NRA? Was it the NRA before? It was at SHOT Show. Was it at SHOT Show that we met?
I think
can't
so.
Even remember.
Yeah, it's been I believe it was SHOT Show, maybe.
I think it was SHOT Show this year. So that SHOT Show 2019, January
Yeah.
of 2019, we met for the first time. Met him with Rel. We met at SHOT Show. What was the second time like we linked up? I think it was NRA Show. That was shortly afterwards.
Yeah.
So that's April-ish, kind of
Yeah.
end of April right
Yeah.
there. And then the third time we got to hang out was at Kevin Dixie's Train and Learn event, right?
NOC Train and Learn event. Yep.
When was that?
That was in what was that?
Memorial Day weekend?
Yes. It was yep, Memorial Day weekend, yep.
Okay. All right.
So I was like it was like right 25th, 26th, what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, so Memorial Day weekend. Like you and me did a quick, like, what was it, like a minute and a half video? It was nothing. It was just a quick intro video. So let's go through some of the introductions first. What's your name? Where you from?
Mychael Waller. I'm the owner of MJ's Firearms. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. Grew up there.
What part?
Morgan Park, to be exact. Moved around though. Lived in some parts of the suburbs. Lived in Texas for about 6 years. Dallas, Fort Worth for a short.
Did you do high school in Texas? Or?
No, I didn't. I came back and I did high school in Illinois.
Okay.
So I did Rich Central High School in Olympia Fields.
Okay.
I went there and I went to Joliet West.
Awesome. Cool. Did you do any college afterwards?
Yeah, I did. I went away to college 2013. I went to Bonzi Community College out in Sugar Grove, Illinois. So it was kind of like the country part. And, kind of fell in love with guns there. Country, everybody has guns down there. So that's kind of where it all kind of really started, where I kind of got into guns pretty heavy.
Cool.
So,
well, let's talk about that some first.
Yeah.
The most interesting part about you is that you're probably the youngest FFL that I know. And at that, you're a minority. So you match my skin tone. I'm a little bit lighter than you, but it's super impressive to see someone so young and become an FFL that's not the stereotypical FFL. Yeah. Let's talk about before we talk about what made you want to get in FFL, let's talk about what got you into guns.
My first experience with a gun, I was young. I was like 6 or 7 years old. My uncle in Texas let me shoot his gun. And I kind of like, at that moment, I was like, all right, I'm not scared of him. And I liked it. I really enjoyed it. Didn't really say too much to my parents because I didn't know how they was really going to take it. But like my really first experience behind a gun, actually shooting gun and owning it, was when I was about 17, 18 years old, right after I graduated high school and I was in college, freshman in college, so yeah.
So you went away to college and got that, so was it college buddies that showed you that? Was it like a relative or?
No, actually not. It was, I went to Bonds Community College, which it's not really, I lived in Plano, Illinois, so it wasn't really me going away. I was staying in Plano, and my community college was down the street. But I got into guns so I just was curious, and I always loved them. And when I found out that I was having a child, I went to the nearest gun shop. They had the signs posted everywhere, and I wanted to protect my son. So that was my main goal, just protecting. I wanted to have something, to protect my son. So I went to the gun shop and looked on the rack, and they told me I could not buy a handgun. I'm like, well, I got the money. I want to buy this handgun. It's I think it was like a Glock 19 or something. I was looking at it, and I wanted to buy it, but they were like, you can't buy that because you're not 21. I'm like, why not? And ended up getting the AR-15. And, I don't regret it, but it's not the best choice. But I'll say at that moment, after having my son, I kind of got into guns around 17, 18 years old.
So you talked about some of the jobs that you had in the industry at a young age, 17, 18 years old. So let's talk about that as far as how old were you exactly? Like you said, you built a lot of guns for an African-American manufacturer of AR-15s. Mm-hmm. And talk about how that led you to where you actually are now.
Okay, well, I was working for the company in Illinois. It was, we manufactured AR-15s, and when I was working there, I was like 19 years old. Started there.
What'd you do to get that job? Like, who did you have to talk to? Like, how's an 18-year-old interview at a manufacturer's position, basically?
It was kind of weird because, like, I bought his first gun he built for a gun shop. and he was in the process of starting a, AR-15 manufacturing company. So, and when I bought his first gun, I was at the gun shop because I actually needed help cleaning it. I was on YouTube looking at, I think it was Hickok 45, one of his reviews on how to clean a gun, and I just didn't do that good. I didn't think so. I actually did pretty well when I talked to him because I even ended up contacting the man who built the gun. Got his card from the local gun shop, went there. I gave him a call, and he told me to swing by his house and brought the gun over there, and he showed me how to clean it. He was a Purple Heart veteran, and he showed me how to clean the gun. And we were talking, and vibing pretty good, and had developed a really good relationship pretty early. And he ended up telling me like, hey, I'm starting a company pretty soon, and you seem like you're young, you seem like you're very passionate about this now, like this is something you may want to consider doing. And I was like, yeah, building guns, getting paid, come on, that sounds good to me, let's do it. And got hired by the company. Started. I told him I was taking some gunsmithing classes because I want to really know, this gun. I want to know like how everything works in the gun. So I started taking those classes and finished the course. Basic AR-15 armors course at home. Got hired by the company, and it just kind of took off from there. I went into building their AR-15s. I was the owner, kind of stepped in, and he helped me a lot. He was a mentor to me, and we kind of really at that point when he started mentoring me and teaching me how to build these guns, because he was I believe an armor in the military too. So when he started teaching me how to build these guns, I kind of really heavily got into my passion grew. I was crazy about them. I wanted to know everything. I wanted to know more than just about how to build AR-15s. So I was the guy who stayed inside the shop for 3-4 hours after it closed, and was building guns. The owner called my phone can you get out of there? Why are you still there? He see me on the camera because he could see it from his phone. Why are you still there? I'm in there taking everything apart. Stuff that has nothing to do about job. I'm not even getting paid anymore. I'm off the clock. And I was still in there just building guns. I just fell in love with guns. Was working for the company, and 2-3 years, passed by. I'm going to SHOT Show. I'm meeting a lot of people, seeing a lot of faces, and networking with a lot of different people. Learning, more than now just about the gun. I'm actually learning the gun industry, learning how everybody come together, and why the gun industry is so important. It's a community. I didn't know there was such thing as a gun community before then,
I saw there were stores everywhere.
Yeah, stores. I'm like, man, peace.
A couple cool people.
That's it. It's not, but it's a gun community. And the gun community is real, and that's the part I think people, don't really understand, and all the anti-gun, people don't really understand that there is actually a community of people who actually love this stuff. We love our guns. We love our right to protect ourselves, and people forget that sometimes. And
the most interesting thing I think, just to add on that, just personally, my own life, is people don't realize that it's people like your neighbor, people that look like you and me, people that if you didn't know what we did, you wouldn't know that we're part of that gun community. We are part of the people that you're vilifying. So I think that's always interesting when you don't come across as a gun person, and next thing you know, they're like, oh, you're a gun person. And I liked you before I knew that.
Yeah.
So that's just something I think is interesting. But let's talk a little bit more about how you actually got your FFL. What got you thinking? Did you start thinking, oh, I'm gonna have my FFL as soon as you got that job, or did that come along later? Talk to me about a little bit about what got you wanting to get an FFL.
Well, the moment, funny, when I actually got hired by the company, not even shortly after, I told the owner, I was like, I love this. I love to do this forever, but I'm gonna be my own boss. I'm not gonna work for, this company forever. I love this, but at the same time, I was just raised that way. I come from a family who entrepreneurs, and my mother is, and that's just kind of how I was raised. So I always told myself I want to be my own boss, and how can I do this? I didn't know what FFL was. How can I do this? What steps do I have to do? Started doing my own research, and realized that hey, you had to get this, and that before you can even do this, conduct this type of business in this state. Illinois, everybody knows, is not the most gun-friendly state, so it's tough. And we got a lot of laws that are ridiculous, but you have a right as an American to defend yourself. Second Amendment is there for not just white men. It's not just there for black men. It's not just there for Mexicans. It's for all of us. And we need to I feel like we need to exercise that more. And that me getting into the gun industry and getting my FFL, I figured that would be I think I can make a bigger impact on the gun community. With me being a young African American male, I think it'll draw a lot more attention, and it did. But I want people to see. I want to be an example. Like, hey, you can do this. You can be 23 years old and apply for an FFL license. You can be 24 and have FFL, and you can, not mess up at this. I want to, I'm here to set an example.
I guess the best example for young minority youth that you're actually setting is not so much that you're an FFL, but that you did it at such a young age. That even in an anti-gun state, you didn't let laws hold you back.
Yeah.
You did the studying, you did the work. You didn't let laws hold you back, and you set the example for a lot of minority youth to say, "Hey, I can do just that at 21, or 22, or 23, and beat you." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
and I want them to beat me.
Exactly.
I'm the person that say, I want you guys to be. I want to see. Even I don't care your race, white, black, green, purple. I don't care. I want to see a 21-year-old get an FFL license. I want to see. It sounds scary, but no, we have to. This is it, man. Yeah. We need more people selling more guns, less crime. Exactly. Let's do it, man. Like I want to see a 21-year-old apply after seeing this interview. I want to see it. Like that's what I want.
Yeah,
I want more people, definitely.
For sure. I think there's room for the old guard, but there's definitely room for the young guard too. So just mixing it up, having as much diversity as possible, I think is key to everything, whether it be age or race or just whatever the case may be. All right, Mike. So like I said earlier, the last time we actually hung out was at the Memorial Day weekend train and learn event with Kevin Dixie. That was in St. Louis. It was actually right outside proper St. Louis. So that was it was south, right? It was south.
Yeah,
it was south. Yeah. I can't remember what the place was called, but shout out to Kevin Dixie. Put on a great training event. You and me definitely learned a lot. That was my first official training event.
I trained before then, but that was like my official local stuff. That's my first training event. I consider that. And I'm proud,
Yeah, other than paying for a private, 1 hour range tutor or something like that. That was my first real.
Okay, me too. Then
event.
I'll say the same.
Yeah. So that was my first real training event. That was Memorial Day weekend.
Right.
The last day was a Sunday. It was a short day, right?
Yeah.
We did some videos, and that's where you and me were recording that clip.
Yeah, it was like a 2-minute clip or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you were running out. You who'd you have to drop off? You had to drop off somebody.
Tech Daddy.
Yeah.
I had to drop him off at the
airport.
Airport. Yeah. Dropped him off at the airport.
Okay.
Well, I left around 6. Yeah, about 6 o'clock, and hit the road, got some gas, snacks, pocket. Hit the road, driving back to Illinois. By the time I got back there, just went to my house, grabbed my son. I wanted to see my son first, so I went to grab my son.
Where was your son staying? Was it with your mom's or his mom?
No, my mom was at my house.
Okay.
So went home, unloaded the truck, took all my guns out, left 2, left my HK VP9. I took that with me. Excuse me. I took my HK VP9 and my Glock 30 Generation 4. Took those 2 guns with me. Had one, my HK VP9, appendix carry, had it on me. Glock 30 in the back in my bag. Had my buddy Devin with me too. He was in passenger seat. Grabbed my son. Unloaded the rest of the guns and all other gear in the safe at home. Second, drove to Chicago because my girlfriend actually, at the time, she lived in Chicago, not too far from the hospital she works at. Drove to Chicago, went to her house, parked in the alley. I'm in the rental truck at this time.
You got a big ass rental truck, I remember.
It wasn't that big. It was a Nissan. I think it was a Nissan Pathfinder or something. Nah, it was like a Nissan Pathfinder. It wasn't that big. Nah, I'm not balling like that. I'm not balling. I had a Nissan Pathfinder, and A little small pickup truck, driving it down there. It went to the house in Chicago. Chicago, you know, it's all the houses are, everything's very close together. Sometimes you can get to the entry of the house through the basement if your apartment is like in the lower part, and hers is. So, you know, got to Chicago, son's in the back seat, Devin's in the passenger seat, pulled into the parking lot. The alley's like you have to go through the alley first, and then there's a parking lot on the side of the building. Back the truck in. I get out the truck. When I get out the truck, grab my son in the back seat because he said he wanted to see my girlfriend. So, grabbed my son, holding his hand, walked through the alley. Started walking. When I walked through the alley, I had a bunch of trash in my pocket. I saw a garbage can, the closest one to me at the time. I was on the left side, my son was on the right side, holding his hand. And got to the trash can, which was facing on the opposite side of the alley, if that makes sense. There's a backyard and a building, emptying the trash into a garbage can. I hear a male yelling on the phone. When I hear him yelling on the phone, I kind of like naturally look, like, you know, because he's yelling. And I looked, you know, he looked at me and just looked like he was maybe around young, 20-some-year-old, 19, 20-year-old Hispanic male. Looked at him. At that point, he kind of looked at me and was like, "Fuck you fuck you looking at, you know?" Can I curse?
Yeah.
Okay, like, you know, what the fuck you looking at, man? Like, you know, throwing up gang signs, like, you know, talking about he's Latin King and, you know, this and that. I guess he assumed that I was a gang, you know, I was in a gang.
So he gave you a trap welcoming with silent language.
Yeah, man, like, you know, throwing up gang signs at me. I got my son with me. He sees my son. He completely, you know, he didn't care at all. He had like no respect, he didn't care whether or not my son was there at all. He looked at my son, actually, you know, was talking about him like, you're, you know, calling him like, you got some little ass shorts on, blah, blah, blah. Just pure disrespect. As he's throwing up gang signs at me, and as he's throwing up gang signs at me, I grabbed my son, like, and put him behind me, you know, just natural reaction. And he, you know, pulled out a gun. Like, as he's throwing up gang signs with the other hand. I couldn't remember whether left or right. I pressed right because he was throwing up gang signs with the left hand. Got the gun in the right hand, you know, flashes the gun. When I see the gun, I immediately push my son off to the side because there's a building, brick wall right there. I pushed my son off to the side and kind of like gave him a nice little shove. He didn't fall, by the grace of God, but gave him a nice little shove so he was kind of out the way, because at that moment when I seen the gun, I didn't know, you know, I knew he had bad intentions. And, you know, him saying that he's gonna kill me as he's, you know, cursing at me, "I'll kill your ass," you know, blah, 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 you know, whatever gang you in, you know, that gang, and blah, blah, blah. When I, you know, seen him when he was, you know, acting that way towards me, he brought that type of aggression towards me. I completely, you know, I went into what now I know it's called tunnel vision. When I went into the tunnel vision and I pushed my son off to the side, you know, kind of to get him in, you know, a safe area, you know, kind of told myself, you know, like, you know, Mike, you gotta do something. You gotta do something now. You gotta stop this guy, because, you know, he's gonna potentially kill you and your son in this alley. And I told myself, I'm not gonna let that happen. I went to reach for my gun. As I reached for my gun, he started walking towards me. At this point, he's probably a little bit less than 10 feet away from me. As I went to unholster my gun, he opened fire and shot at me. When he shot at me, I returned fire, you know, proper grip on my gun the best I can. I mean, nothing happens, you know, perfect. Like, you know, kind of like my shirt kind of got like caught, but, you know, I just ripped that bad boy out as best I can, and, you know, got that muzzle pointed at him. And I kind of, it's weird because I was talking to the detectives and they said that, you know, even cops don't normally get this, even when they're in tunnel vision. I actually seen him in my sights for a short period of time. It was the most, I still had dreams about it a little bit. I seen him in my sights. When I seen him in my sights and I heard that first round, I remember pulling the trigger. I didn't even hear my gunshots. It's the funniest thing. I don't remember gunshots after the first shot. And I just was trying to, you know, put as much fire on him as possible and try and stop him. You know, I seen him go down a little bit. I kind of sidestepped. You know, as he was down, he was still trying to fire at me. I don't know if he got shot or whether or not he was ducking. Kind of like sidestepped, you know, just to the side a little bit. Kept the muzzle pointed at him. When he picked his head up, you know, he was kind of, he at this point, he kind of like started backing up because he realized he was, you know, being shot at. You know, a lot of bad guys, they don't think that, you know, man, the good guys probably, you know, somebody can shoot it back at you. You know, nobody wants to get shot back at you. They just think that it's, you know, all a game until, you know, you're in the real thing. And at that point, you know, I started firing back at him. And when he picked his head up, you know, I aimed and, you know, took a shot and, you know, he went down. And I grabbed my son. I looked back. Still remember this. I have dreams about this too. I looked back and I seen my son just standing there. He didn't cry. He didn't anything. He was just completely like just like shocked, you know.
Would you say like he went numb or like?
Yeah, in a way. He kind of like went like he just froze. Like he wasn't, you know, he wasn't holding his ears. You know, the gunshots didn't like. It don't even seem like it affected him. In a way, he was just completely like. I think he kind of went into the same thing I did, like you know, General Russian. You know, he kind of went into like a tunnel vision, and he was just like looking at me. You know, like man, like this is, you know, like what's happening. My son's been, you know, he's been around guns since, you know, like you guys know, like I told you about the story about me buying a gun, and I teach my son, you know, gun safety, and my son owns a gun. He's only 5 years old, you know. I take him to the range with me. He's been in my job with me when I was building and fixing guns, and you know, I look back at him, and he's just standing there. I run back and I grab him, and my gun's empty. I grab my son. I run to the car. Put him in the back of the truck. And as I'm putting him in the back of the truck, I'm running like I ran my hand up his shirt. Just make sure he didn't have any, you know, gun wounds or anything. Like he wasn't bleeding or anything like that. After I checked him, I made sure he was okay, like as fast as I can. I grabbed my other gun, my Glock 30, and I ran back over there because at this point my girlfriend is still in the house. We're in the alley. The door is not that far away. You know, I don't know if bullets went through the house or anything like that. I run to the door. I bang on the door really hard, and she comes to the door, and she's like, you know, shocked. She's crying. When I made sure my girlfriend was okay, had my gun in my hand. It was still out at this point. Went up to him and tried to just see, you know, I just wanted to see what was going on. See, you know, okay, like, you know, because at the end of the day, you know, us as gun owners, you know, it's, you know, crazy as this may sound, but we're not bad people. You know, we don't want to have to kill anybody. We don't want to have to shoot anybody. You know, so I tried to even try to save him. You know, I went up to him to see, you know, try to look to see how he was doing. There was a lot of blood because I wanted to make sure, not just him, but I wanted to make sure there was no threats too. I had my gun out. I went up to him, looked around, made sure there was nobody else. It was just him. He was laying like kind of halfway out the door of, I think, his house. Half his body out, half his body in. He's laying, and he's just in a pool of blood. And I looked at him. I was kind of like, I was on the phone with the police, asked them, what should I do? I ran back to the truck. I still had my gun out at this time. Ran back to the truck, tried to see if I had my tourniquet. But, you know, like I said, I put all my stuff back in the at home, and I put most of my stuff back in the safe. So I didn't have a tourniquet or anything like that. I grabbed my jacket to see if I can maybe, like, you know, apply some pressure or something. I just grabbed some stuff and tried to see if I could apply some pressure to any of his gun wounds. When I was on the phone with the 911, they told me that the ambulance was coming, and, you know, I seen a gunshot wound to his head when I came back up to him the second time. I seen the gunshot wound to his head when I came back up to him the second time. And kind of, definitely, that was something I won't forget. You know, it was definitely scary. Definitely a scary moment. I didn't want to touch him. I didn't want to touch his body. Like, when I seen that gunshot wound, you know, he's just laying there in his head, he's not responsive. You know, I just kind of, as much as I wanted to apply some pressure to him, and I really did want to save him, I kind of, you know, told myself, like, man, I kind of froze a little bit, like, man, damn, like, you know, this guy's, he's in bad shape right now. Like, he could possibly be dead.
How long did it take him to show up?
It was actually pretty fast. It was like maybe 2-3 minutes.
Okay.
In Chicago, they actually have these monitors that sit at the top of
Light poles.
the light poles and things like that, so it can
gunshot
like
mic.
gunshot mic. Yeah, it can anytime there's a gunshot, it actually that it'll kind of scan that area and it'll bring officers to that area pretty fast.
It's a triangulation system that they use. I know they got it up in
Yeah.
Bama, but I don't know anything about that life. So that goes down. They show up in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
What's going through your head at this point? Is it like, oh, I'm going to jail no matter what? Like, even if I know I did something right, like what?
Yeah, man, definitely. I was really afraid because I didn't know what was gonna happen. I like, this dude's dead. I think so in my head. I'm praying that he's okay, but I'm like, dude, like I don't know what's gonna happen. And I'm on the phone with the police, and they said the officers are coming. I'm, kind of like, oh man, I've seen too many times where a good guy gets shot by the police, because they come there and they see a young African American male with a handgun, and they don't know who's the bad guy at this point. A lot of cops, they get bashed. They got a hard job, man. Because that's tough for any police officer that's coming there and they don't know whether or not I'm the good guy or bad guy. I don't I'm not that type of guy. I grew up with police officers in my family, so I don't like to bash the cops. I know they have a hard job, so I get there after I seen make sure that the threat was not there was no threat anymore. I took the gun off of me, I put it in the truck, and made sure my hands were visible to where they could see me. Still on the phone, 911. I told them what I was wearing, all the way from shoes, socks. Hell, I probably told them what kind of underwear I had on that day, but I told them everything. Tried to let them know like, hey, don't shoot me. Got a phone, I got a phone in my hand. I have my hands up. Tell the cops, don't shoot me, don't shoot me. 'Cause I don't want to get shot after me. Just living through this and saving my son and myself and other people around me. So I just kind of just told the cops like, hey, don't shoot me. I don't want to get shot. Had my hands up. The cops get there. They actually were pretty good. They seen who I was. They kind of like tell me, you Mychael. Had my hands up. He's like, okay, put your hands behind your back. Just like that. I'm like, oh, this is not a part. I didn't think this was part of the this whole superhero saving your family, saving your son thing. But yeah, it's real. You're gonna get arrested. You're gonna go through the same process.
Did you expect to get arrested, or did you, or
I've
did you get a slight thing? Oh, they're gonna I might have a chance to go home tonight, or did you just know you're going in?
Well, I was told by my concealed carry instructor, you're getting arrested, but it kind of went like I'd never been arrested before that day. Like I never even had handcuffs on my wrist. That was the first day I even had handcuffs.
So they actually cuffed you too?
Oh yeah, they like put your hands on your back, let's go. And I'm like, this is the first time I've ever been like this. Had my hands behind my back and handcuffed in my life. So I'm like, wow, this is a completely new experience. I didn't, it's crazy because after just living through what I just went through, it's kind of tough to now go through another experience that you never even went through. So it's a tough time for the good guy with a gun, even when something like this happens. So I tell this story because I want people to be prepared, because hopefully it goes pretty good by the grace of God. I haven't been charged with anything by the Chicago Police Department, so I'm definitely blessed and thankful. But definitely got arrested, and they got to do their job. It's protocol. I get put in the back of the squad car. The other detectives and a bunch of cops come at this point. Ambulance. I see them carrying the guy out on a stretcher. They're kind of like pumping his heart, trying to keep get his heart to go. I guess to come back, or if it, well, I don't know. I'm in the back. I'm still in the back of the squad car. I'm just sitting there. They put the red tape out there and tape off the scene, and yeah.
How many hours were you in for? Or did they let you out that same night?
They did let me out that same night. After some, I was sitting outside the scene because, the news came and police, it was a bunch of detectives and they're taking pictures. I see everything right now. The ambulance took the guy. I'm still sitting there. I guess they're trying to figure out which department they want to take me to because this is kind of new. It's not really, it doesn't happen a lot that a good guy stops a bad guy with a gun, especially in Chicago. So, they took me to the police department. I get there, I'm still in handcuffs. I got walking through the police station, and, the detectives come and grab me. They were actually pretty cool towards me, after they kind of analyzed and seen exactly what was going on. They ran the other guy's name. He was a known criminal there, known gang. He was known in the community as a gang member. So they figured out exactly who he was pretty fast, and they ran I gave them my FOIA card and concealed carry permit when I was there, and they seen what was going on. They did recover a gun, in shell casings around his body. And they're normal people, man. Police officers, they go home and they live a normal life, when they take that badge off and, their clothes. So they seen what was going on. I think they kind of, wrapped their head around what was, happening. They were pretty cool. They didn't really treat me bad. Like a lot of cops, especially with, young African-American males, just African-American males in general, they like to, a lot of people like to think, oh man, the cops are really rough on us. A lot of cops, if you do the right things and
You'll always have that to stand on.
Yeah, you always have to stand on. Right, that's good. Yeah, and I talked to the attorney. He said, "Hey, talk to him. It's pretty, clear cut. Tell him what what you seen." And went in there and I talked to the female detective, and she was actually very, very nice. She was like, because she knew what was going on. She knew who got shot. She arrested. I believe she probably arrested him before. I think she told me. And every single cop that came up to me, they told me like, hey, you did what I would have did. Like you saved your son, you saved yourself. Any one of us would have did the same thing. So you're not a bad guy, and I'm not gonna treat you like that. And I definitely appreciate that because they didn't treat me like that. They didn't treat me like a bad guy. So talked to them, told them what happened. A few hours went by. They ran all my permit, my concealed carry, my FOIA card. They found out FFL. They took copies of that also, and all my information, and talked to another detective, and signed some paperwork, and kind of out of like maybe 5 or 6 hours after that, maybe a little bit longer than that. They still take pictures of you, fingerprint, thing like that. But hours after that, they let me go. So I was free. They left. My mom was there.
Did you know you were going to get out that night? Or
I had no idea, man. I think I was going to go like into jail, like stay in jail for I didn't know. I had no idea. I had no clue. I've never been through this before.
Exactly.
Never even been in jail at all. So I had no idea, man, what was going to happen and what was going on. So just when they told me, hey man, you're free to go, I'm like, what? All right, thank you.
So you get out of booking, you get to go home that same night. What happens?
They also, when I left that night, they did confiscate my gun. So they told me when I can get them back and how this process is going to go.
They took both of your guns?
They took both of my guns.
Even though the one was never fired, right?
Even though the second one was not fired. The Glock 30 was not fired. They took both of the guns and the holsters and the magazines and things like that was around them. They took those, just gave me my paperwork, let me know, hey, gave me a card, like I'll be calling you and let me know like the process, how things are going to go after this and how I can get my property release forms, back. We'll get my property release forms and things like that in the process they got to go through. Left, went home, kind of in the car. When I heard my son, I talked to him, broke down because I was like really shocked. I was like, man, like I'm still alive. Like really broke down in the car, like in tears, man. Like, because I was just happy. Like I felt really bad. They told me when I was at the police department that, the guy was in, bad shape and he's not gonna make it, he's on life support. I really, like, man, I didn't want to have to kill anybody, I was really, felt pretty, shitty. So I kind of broke down a little bit. I definitely broke down, but I was happy. And at that moment, I realized that, hey, I stopped crying. I was like, I can live with this because I saved my son. I saved myself and my son and other people around me. Especially my son, because I was, that's what really, put that drive in me to actually stop the bad guy, because I wanted to see my son, again. I wanted him to, continue to live and, enjoy his life and go back to school, and do everything he loves to do. So when I heard my son, I was, I calmed down, felt a lot better, got home and I was completely fine. Didn't cry another day after that. Never.
Has he asked you any questions about the incident?
No.
You bring it up to him to try to.
Recently, after I put my son, I let him take a class. I did with him too, a small little counseling class, just to see where our heads were. You actually suggested that to me in a text message. You told me like, hey man, go see somebody. Just you may feel okay, but go see somebody. I remember talking to you about that, and I did, and I appreciate you telling me that too. Definitely. Went to go see a counselor too, and they said my son was fine. He kind of, moments after that, when I was on the phone with him in the car, he was like, "Oh, I want to play my video game, Dad. Am I going to play my video game?" And I felt better. I was like, "Oh, cool." Like he's still kind of young. He's 5 years old. He don't know really what happened. He'll be okay. Kind of, talk to him, and like a week ago. This was 6.5 weeks ago when this incident happened. A week ago, I asked my son for the first time, after the class. And after everything, like, hey, MJ, do you remember what happened? He was like, yeah, Daddy. And, I know you shot the bad guy. You did what you've been practicing. I see you all the time practicing. That's what he kept saying to me. You always practicing. You always go to the gun range. You practice for this. You always practicing, you definitely say you saved me. You my superhero. It made me feel good. I kind of like got a little mushy. I was like, oh man, my son, thinks I'm his superhero. He kind of, it was cool, He was like, you said that. He was like, you stopped the bad guy. I know you shot him, and you did what you like. You trained for this stuff. You trained so just in case something happens, you can stop him, and you did. So I felt good.
So I see you wearing a Tactical Response alumni T-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Jealous, James Yeager. I promise you, I'm getting down there this October, November. I'm gonna be down at Tactical Response.
Yeah.
He pulled my card so bad at NRA for not having taken the class yet.
Yeah.
So shout out to James Yeager, good guy.
Yeah,
shout out
definitely.
to Kevin Dixie from NOC Firearms. Obviously, that was our first training class.
Yeah, that was our first training
I'm gonna bring this
class,
conversation back to the beginning where we actually started.
Okay.
Which is basically where you and me really hung out for the first time, outside of just meeting each other at a convention floor, giving each other a dap or whatever. First time we really got to hang out. And like I said, it was my first training experience. And before I even knew I didn't know what happened to you until 2 days after the fact. I think it was like 2 or 3 days after the fact. And I was already bit by the training bug. Like, it's kind of like when you buy your first gun.
Yeah.
You buy the one and then you just want to keep going.
So you just want to
I
keep
went to
going.
that training class and I was like, damn, I need medical, I need pistol, I
Everything.
need rifle. I need these classes ASAP.
ASAP,
So,
yes.
if I wasn't so fat and sweaty, I'd probably take a few over the summer. But just to bring this all back to the beginning, the fact that you had a self-defense situation less than 24 hours from you leaving from a training event, give me your thoughts and what you think you would tell somebody on how important training is, what type of training someone should get. Because we talked about the 1 hour private lesson and how different that was from what we considered our first training session. Right. Talk to me about how important training is to you prior to the incident and after the incident, and what you overall think about training.
Well, it's pretty simple, and I'm actually coming out with a T-shirt, either train or die. It's that simple. After me taking that training class, like, it became an addiction, like you said. Like, it's like buying your first gun. Like, I haven't bought another gun after that training class. But 2 days after me being involved in a shooting, I signed up for 7 classes. I think I spent like $3,000 or $4,000. Like, I just boom, 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 boom. I talked to KD, KD's a good friend of mine now, and I talked to him, and, after taking his class, and, he told me, like, hey, KD, like, he, like, straightforward. Like, how some people in the gun industry be like, no, take my classes. Come take this, and that. He told me that, too. But he didn't say, he's like, hey, I want you to take Tactical Response. Go to Tactical Response. Go sign up for his class right now. I'm on the phone with him, and I'm on Tactical Response website. I signed up for, like, two classes right there. Cause I signed up for a few, and like instant, like, and he told me, he's like, hey, go take fighting pistol first, and take in moment after you take one of, Tactical Response classes, you become a Tactical Response alumni. And so I'm proud to say I am an NOC alumni, and I'm a Tactical Response alumni, definitely proud to say that. And, I believe training is key. It's more important than just buying guns out there. Like, before this incident, I was so like, I want to have the biggest gun collection. I want to have the nicest guns, and I had like over 50 something guns. You know, if I was like 24 years old, I'm like, I'm buying guns. Got an FFL, and guns are even cheaper for me. I'm buying guns. Nah, man, it's not where it's at. You know, I was always told, you know, watch out for the guy who has one gun. You know, that one gun, like, cause he can use that gun, like, and he's probably a beast with it. Like, I wanted to become a beast with, you know, my guns. Like, I even sold some of my guns now so I could pay for more training. Like, I wanted to get, like, I went out and I did, you know, buy a few attachments and things like that to make the guns that I'm gonna train with and make, you know, my guns that are ready as ready as possible, you know.
So what would you say to somebody who has a misconception of just tactical training in general and is like, I'm not a tactical guy, that's not my thing, I carry, but you know, that's for other people. What would you say to somebody like that who just doesn't think training is for them? What piece of advice would you give them?
Well, again, it's either, you know, like I say, train or die. You know, if you have a gun and you don't know how to use it, you can get killed with your own gun. A gun will get you killed very fast. If I didn't even have the basic fundamentals, I wouldn't be alive today. Bad people don't train. That bad guy, when he was shooting at me, he's just, no, I took the time to actually take pretty, you know, good shots, I feel like, you know, without training, you know, be one dead guy right now. And probably my son probably wouldn't be alive neither. So training is key.
I think a good way to tie that in is the fact that what you said earlier in the interview was that he shot at you first.
Yeah, he did.
So the untrained person missed. The trained person who shot last actually connected. So,
That's a good point. I didn't really think about it like that, but you bring a valid point up, you know, like he shot first and he missed, and that's just pure lack of training. And, you know, me returning fire, I hit him, you know. So if you don't train, if you think that training is not important, you have it all wrong. You have everything backwards. You know, buying a gun does not mean that you're safer. It doesn't. It does not do you any good if you don't know how to use the gun. A gun is just a tool. That's all I can, you know, say. Like, you know, whatever tool you have, all it is a tool. Train with it. Training is probably the most important thing if you're going to be a gun owner. Because now training don't just mean you have to be shooting guns. You know, you can be, you know, train on like medical, train on, you know, what to do after a shooting. You know, it's so many other things you can do. You don't have to be a tactical guy. I'm not a police officer. I was never in the military, nothing like that. I just, you know, got a gun. You know, it's my Second Amendment right. I got a gun, and I have a family, and it's my job to protect my family. You know, not anybody else. The police only come after the fact. So, you know, if you can, you know, definitely get some training.
I think you hit on a great point because I said earlier was after that first training class, I got bit by the bug, and I knew that I didn't just need pistol and rifle. I knew I wanted to take medical as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So just to wrap up the whole thing, give me a list of few of the, I guess, top of your list instructors that you want to get trained by or take their classes. Is there anything that you really got in mind that you really want to achieve as far as in the training world? Like I guess next calendar year before SHOT Show maybe.
I'll probably say the next. I trained with KD with LC. Trained with Tactical Response. Those are some pretty big guys. I mean, KD's kind of new, but he's definitely growing, and he's probably one of the most powerful, I think, you know, African American males like in the gun industry right now. But Tactical Response, KD told me, he even out of his own mouth, you know, James Yeager's probably the most powerful, you know, guy in the gun industry. You know, you need to train with him. You know, I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to train with him. So I would definitely say I want to train with Clint Smith next too. Clint Smith I watched him on YouTube, man. He's a beast, dude. Like, I can't wait for him to yell in my ear. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really, really want to train with Clint Smith now. And I think Tim Kennedy is pretty good too. Like, cause he goes outside just the gun, you know. And I learned how to use my hands before I learned how to use the gun. So I would suggest, you know, I want to train with Tim Kennedy also, and what's the gentleman's name from BCM? Haley. I believe he does training classes too, and he's really good. So I would definitely like to train with him. That'd be a pretty good one too. But I think my next one probably be Clint. Definitely want to train with Clint Smith next.
Another tip for you, like if one of those guys that are like, probably gonna quit the game pretty soon, Masad Ayub. If you get a chance to listen to that man talk,
Who?
it's Masad Ayub.
I heard of him.
It's a lot of classroom,
Yeah.
very little range time.
Yeah, I heard of that. Yep.
It's more mindset than like
Yeah.
everyone talks about mindset. That guy is the truth about mindset. So
Got you.
I personally haven't taken this class, but I've talked to a lot of people that have.
I'm gonna do some more. I heard of him. I'm definitely gonna do some more research because that may be a good. I believe James probably mentioned him a little bit. I don't. Maybe so, but I've heard of him.
He's one of the first big instructors from like the
I've
80s.
I definitely heard of him. I know you're talking about. I'm gonna look into his classes and see if I can definitely squeeze some time because I would like to take one of his too.
All right, give me a one-liner. Can't be the T-shirt that you already said because you already blew your shot on your one-liner. So give me a one-liner that encompasses your whole entire experience with this, or just a sign-off line, whatever you want to say. Just give me a one-liner that really encompasses the whole thing. And it can't be your T-shirt line because you already blew that wad. So go ahead, give me a one-liner.
A one-liner. Having a proper mindset and skill set can definitely save your life. That's the only thing I can pretty much. I mean, it's pretty clear cut, Having a proper mindset and skill set, can definitely, change the outcome whether you live or die in a situation like that. So, I would definitely suggest people get trained. That's all I can say.